What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, back with another Outriders video to bring to you, and today we're actually going to be looking at the interaction that SnowSquall has when it comes to one-shot rifles. Now, I haven't seen anything out there in terms of like YouTube to be able to like cover this actual interaction, but I've noticed a lot of chatter over it on the Outriders Discord, and I feel like it's worth actually mentioning that. So, while full credit goes to over there, I would like to say that while no one's really covered it, it kind of needs a little bit more exposure, especially with the kind of player base that we have right now. So this video is purely designed to be able to maximize damage to freeze, a little bit towards toxic, but we'll get into the build very, very shortly. But I want to show off a little bit of footage to be able to show what it makes it so good, what makes it so useful, and why one-shot rifles actually do have a little bit of a place in it, especially when they're geared up a certain way. At least the purple variants do anyway. So without further ado, make sure you've dropped a like on the video, make sure you've subscribed, have a look at the footage, and then as soon as the footage is done, we'll play a little bit more in the background towards the end of the video, and then we'll get into the build. So for the time being, enjoy. Alright, so we're going to have a quick look through the build as to what I'm currently running, so you get an idea as to how this kind of works, and we'll also go look into the skill trees, we'll have a look into the inventory, all that kind of good stuff. So if I tap on my inventory, obviously the stats and all that when it comes to like firepower and anomaly power don't really matter too much because we are purely relying on damage when it comes to mods. So the only weapon that we need to worry about ourselves is this Rising Tide, which I have changed the look of. What we need to look for is Grand Opening and SnowSquall. Now SnowSquall is obviously what's going to roll on the gun, and Grand Opening we need to be able to replace with the thing that comes from the Darkness Charmer. So make sure you get yourself a rifle that again has SnowSquall on it, change it to the one-shot variant, and then put on Grand Opening. And what that does is it basically opens up the whole of this build. Now, I'm going to make suggestions as to what you can run for the armor, because what this will do will give you survivability, give you durability, and give you all the damage multipliers that you need to be able to actually inflict all the damage, be able to wipe out enemies in one single shot. But feel free to actually mix and match a little bit if you feel like you might be able to do. Just know that when it comes to like firepower, when it comes comes to like getting anomaly power bonuses, it's not really going to help too much. It might help your cryo turret out a little bit, but when it comes to your character and the damage that we're actually dealing, is not going to help too much. So currently, how I've currently got this set up is got my Lucky Ushanka. This is what gives me the survivability. So we've gone for max health, we've gone for Death's Door, which just in case I actually do fall below a certain threshold, then I'll actually need to double my armor to be able to give myself a little bit of survivability ready for my fixing wave to come back. I've gone for Euthanizer on there, and that will become a little bit more apparent as we go into the build. Just know that as standard, we're not inflicting toxic, so it does actually rely on another mechanic of ourselves, so therefore it's just there because I didn't really find any other kind of like standard bonuses that would be able to help me out in this kind of case. So I went for, do you know what, maybe I can get another damage multiplier in here to be able to inflict a little bit more damage. So going from there, we've gone for the robe of the Borealis. So we've got Icicle Storm, which is a fantastic mod. It's probably one of the best ones. This is your crowd control. This will be, while your standard gun is brilliant for single target and just absolutely deleting people, it does do a little bit of AoE, but when it comes to the main part of your AoE, it's going to be because of Icicle Storm. And on top of that, we've got Breathe In because we want our fixing wave back a little bit better, well, a little bit back quicker, because this is our main way of surviving. This is basically what keeps us so tanky, what keeps us so healthy, especially while we're doing like mid reloads and all that kind of thing. So next up, we've got for the Weight Cloth. So we've gone for Fixer Upper, where it increases our health regen by 5%. Once again, adds to the tankiness, adds to the basically the way that you'll never be able to fall down when it comes to this kind of class. Go for Freezing Boost because we are obviously Borealis, we are inflicting freeze through SnowSquall, so therefore we want to do an extra 15% when it comes to our damage on that front. Next up, we've got the gloves, so we've gone for Shatter, so another 25% when it comes to freeze, very, very nice. And we've also gone for Mr. Fix-It, which allows us to be able to, ourselves and our allies, to be able to gain more armor and also resistance every single time we activate Fixing Wave, and this is obviously what makes us a bit more tanky. So basically every single time you're activating Fixing Wave, you're recovering, I think it's about 66% health, is it? Yeah, 66. So you're recovering that 2/3 of your health, just flat, just straight like that. Then over the next 5 seconds, you're going to be recovering another 5% for every single second of that. Pretty much puts you back up to full. And it also helps your allies with more armor, more health, all that kind of good stuff. So you are helping out in a co-op kind of scenario as well. So I do actually want to try this out in that, but just know that all the footage that I've done so far is just purely in a solo play. But like I say, it just instantly deletes, and you'll be able to see that from the gameplay in the background. And then lastly, we've gone for the Torrential Downpours glove boots because not only does this give us more max health, which obviously makes us so tanky, all the way up to around about 44k health. Quartermaster technically isn't a usable mod in this kind of game. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's kind of just been there because these are the only like max health boots that I actually have that are actually worthwhile running. So feel free to swap that out. I don't think that's a great mod to be able to use with this build. I mean, there may be a way that you're able to time it in a way that it actually does trigger SnowSquall, and then you can obviously just instantly get a bullet back, but even then that's still kind of niche, so I'd quite happily just swap that out for something else, something that gives you maybe some more health, or something that affects your cooldowns or something like that. And then we've also gone for Radical Therapy because we are getting another 15%, which brings us to a nice 40% extra damage when it comes to enemies inflicted with Toxic. So if we go into the skills, I've gone for pure middle tree goodness, so we've gone for Cryo Turret, Fixing Wave and Cold Snap. Now Cold Snap obviously is our AoE, it's also a way to be able to inflict a lot of freeze. Cryo Turret is just there to purely just handle a little bit of the crowd, but also to be able to help inflict that freeze for us as well. And then Fixing Wave is there to be able to keep us alive, to be able to keep our teammates alive, to be able to keep us all tanky and all nice and goodness like that. If we go from there to the class tree, you'll be very surprised to know I've gone for middle. Now middle is obviously the main reason why we use those 3 skills, so it makes sense to be able to. I haven't gone for the capstone though. The capstone purely gives you extra anomaly and weapon damage, and it also gives you a nice revive, but considering how much health we have, how much armor we can get, and the fact that we aren't relying on anomaly or weapon damage, there's just no point being able to put a point into there, so you might as well just leave it off. You don't see any kind of like benefit from it. The only thing that would do is purely the Cryo Turret for dealing a little bit of extra damage, but even then that's just, it's so negligible you might as well just put the point somewhere else. So that's why I've gone for that. So basically gone for, out of the middle tree, I've gone for bottom all the way through. So we're picking up bonuses to our freeze damage, which makes sense. Also our freeze lasts longer, and we've also picked up all the cooldown reductions as well, because obviously these are all the skills we are planning to use. I've also picked up Exposing Frost, because this gives us a nice damage multiplier when it comes to enemies inflicted with Vulnerable, and I've also grabbed Mark for Execution to be able to make our Vulnerable a little bit stronger. When it came to the last few points though, because after you get all the way through here, you have about 5 points left. And the 5 points I really wanted to go for were, what can I do in terms of additional multipliers? Is there anything that I can do to be able to like increase the damage that this mod can actually do? And that would be to inflict Toxic as well. Now obviously Blighted Rounds is an option, but Blighted Rounds on a one-shot rifle is pitiful, especially since you only get the one shot and then it goes on cooldown for like 40 to 50 seconds. So the only other option was basically making our melee being able to inflict Toxic. So overall, I think this is a good option, because what you can do is you don't need to rely on the Toxic multiplier at all. When it comes to like standard enemies, they pretty much die in one single shot, or get very close if you're very unlucky. But when it comes to elites, then you need to be able to get up close, you need to be able to inflict freeze, and you can inflict Toxic, and you'll inflict so much more damage that you'll then actually be able to take them down in fewer shots. So the idea was that if I went down to Winter's Barrier, so every time I activate my melee skill, because I'm stood in front of an elite, I'm now getting damage mitigation, which makes us even more tanky. Just know you don't have to be you don't have to use your melee and hit someone to be able to get this bonus. Feel free to use your melee to be able to do it, but I feel like between like the reloads of your one-shot rifle and just activating melee every single like 3 seconds and all that, I feel like it just takes up so much time when you could actually be killing things. So this is primarily down for when I'm actually facing elites. On top of that, if you go across there, you can your freezing tanks allow your freeze to be able to last a little bit longer as well, so I do think that's worthwhile picking up as well. The sidearm thing is just absolutely pointless. The anomaly power is absolutely pointless, but these two are basically like a necessary evil to be able to get down to brain freeze, where our melee now inflicts Toxic. So you'll be inflicting freeze, you'll be inflicting Toxic, you'll be benefiting from all the good stuff that the Technomancer is pretty much known for, and it just allows you to be able to do so much more damage. And the fact that we've picked up all these health nodes just means that you've got so much health to be able to play with. You can just basically run in, just take a whole lot of bullets to the face. Your Fixing Wave then basically makes you all good. You've got Death's Door to be able to protect you just in case Fixing Wave is on cooldown, and you do actually fall below a certain health threshold. And yeah, overall it's a lot of fun. Just know that it is kind of accuracy dependent, because you are expected to be able to hit your shots, but you know, just know that every single time you are hitting that shot, you're dealing a massive and considerable chunk of damage. Now, full credit for this kind of discovery goes to the Outriders Discords. Now, to be completely honest with you, there were so many people that have mentioned SnowSquall that when I tried using the search function to be able to find out like the initial person that discovered it, I had a difficult time. So I do apologise if the person that did discover SnowSquall actually being viable would like to be able to drop a comment on this video in case they are actually watching, then by all means please let me know, and I'll quite happily pin that up on the video, because full credit does go to them. I just purely take it as seeing an idea that a few people have actually discussed, and I've noticed no one on YouTube's kind of covering it, and I feel like it's, you know, it's such a good combination, it's such a good like interaction that it would be a real shame for other people not to discover this for their Technomancers. So especially with the player base that we currently have at the moment, and you know, maybe this is something that this is working as intended and it should actually be going into World Slayer. Just know that one-shot rifles actually do have a position, and it's not just purely a scrap grenade and kind of like grand opening purely just kind of going to go on the weapons. So there are other ways to be able to run it. So I want to, like I said, I want to give full credit to them. So please, if you are watching this, please let yourself be known. And I know full well that as soon as me saying that means I'm probably going to get like 50 comments of people just going, yeah, it was me, yeah, it was me. But you know, like I said, it's just basically say I can't take credit for this. It's just that, you know, make sure you head over to the Outriders Discord. Make sure you head over there and just like drop a comment over there, because there are some really knowledgeable people over there, and they do some really good work with being able to help out new and like returning players alike. So yeah, it's you know, just massive shout out to them over there. So that pretty much wraps up this video of how SnowSquall kind of interacts and how useful it actually could be as a Technomancer. Now, obviously, you know, this isn't probably the only interaction that's pretty much like not very well known out there in the community. So if you know of anything at this moment in time that you feel like, you know, maybe should be something that other people should give a go, maybe you found like a weird interaction that, you know, it doesn't have to be like top tier or anything like that, but maybe it's something that, you know, you find is fun to be able to play with. And the fact that, you know, the time has been removed, it's all about fun nowadays, means you know, why not? Let's bring some of these lesser known kind of interactions to light for other people to be able to have a mess around with. So massive thank you to everyone that's made it this far into the video. Really do fully appreciate your support and obviously taking the time out of your day to be able to watch us. And massive thank you to all the Babylonian family for obviously their continued support. Their names will be popping up at the end of the video, and if you want to be able to get in on part of that, then all you need to be able to do is find that join button that's found down below, click on it, and it literally starts from as little as 99p a month, and it really does go straight back into the channel and really help us out. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on this, and obviously be looking out for you in the future. So thank you all so much. Keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all in that next video.